Happy weekend, Sportz Hive Nation. It's Coby Lynch, and we're coming at you with a new show. It's been announced. It's called In Case You Missed It with Coby Lynch. So we're going to get it started right now. Basic overview of this show is I'm going to take some stories that might have been missed throughout the week. Stories from, college basketball, college sports in general, the NBA, NFL, MLB, basically just get all the big stories for you guys and talk about them a little bit, especially if we miss them sometime throughout the week. So we're just going to get started. Obviously, the big headline is the Giannis and Harden beef. Now, this just seems kind of childish. I think Harden's still a little hurt from when he wasn't picked for Giannis's team, when Giannis said he wants somebody that's going to pass the ball. And, coming from Giannis's perspective, I think it's got a lot to do with him wanting the All-Star MVP. That's just my take on it. But it's really childish. In sports, you're going to have trash talk, and trash talk is good. It's motivating. As an athlete myself, I love it when, people start trash talking others or trash talking me specifically, but this is just kind of like searching or reaching, I think, in Harden's perspective. It didn't have to get blown out of proportion. As you guys may know, Harden said something along the lines of, I wish I could be 7 feet tall and just dunk a basketball, which anybody with a brain knows that's not Giannis's game. Giannis likes to drive from the outside. He can dribble a little bit. He's also added some shooting to his game over the years. And that's not to, diss on James Harden's skills. Which we all know James Harden is an MVP candidate every year. The guy can shoot, the guy can dribble. It's just sometimes he gets away with traveling, which I think the entire basketball community is aware of. But that's, again, not coming at his skill or anything. So Giannis replied to which he said, his game is not just power, for sure. Giannis's exact words after the victory last night against OKC, it was a 133-86 win, in which he said, my game is not just power. Obviously, after some beef like that, you're going to get reporters asking you about it. So Giannis, I think, taking a little bit of the high road, but I still foresee this beef going, because if anybody knows anything about basketball, like, players don't let little stuff like that go, and it's kind of childish, but what are you gonna do? They get paid millions, and there's nothing really we can do about this. It's a little entertaining. So obviously we're getting our money's worth. I think this is going to play out the entire season. It's going to come down to the MVP race with Harden and Giannis. I pay little to moderate attention to basketball. My main sports are football, baseball, and wrestling. So basketball is just kind of a tertiary sport to me. But this is something that caught my eye, being from Milwaukee and, hearing a lot about Giannis and the Bucks doing well this year. So I think in years past, and with my knowledge of who James Harden is, this is going to be a motivator to bring this all the way down to the MVP race and maybe even, the playoffs. If the Bucks and the Rockets happen to face each other in the finals, which, again, somebody can call me out for my lack of knowledge or whatever, but I don't really care. If this comes down to the finals, I think it's going to be a really interesting set to see. Yeah, that's my take on the Giannis Harden beef. Next up, if you guys aren't catching on real right now, I'm just scrolling down the ESPN top stories page. So here we have Nuggets coach calling the Denver Nuggets soft after a loss to the Clippers, which, I mean, I didn't see the game. I can't really speak for anything. But a 29-point loss, like, to a good team, I mean, yeah, I get as a coach wanting to expect the best of your players. Calling them soft, I mean, that, again, going back to the motivation, that can be used as motivation. However, I think that's going to lose some guys in the locker room, especially, guys who feel like they're working their tail off and try it as best as they can, which, I mean, yeah, that's going to be frustrating to hear, but, I mean, they got to take it with a grain of salt. You're professional athletes. You just have to keep going on that aspect. There's nothing you can really do about it to make it better because it's in the past. So, reading more, Malone said the Nuggets were awful Friday night, but went on to credit the Clippers. They sent a message, he said. They came out and it hit us in the mouth, and we never responded. And that's the most disappointing thing about it. We came into this game thinking it was just going to be a standard NBA game. They approached this game like something was on the line, and you could tell a difference from the jump ball all the way until the final buzzer. Going on further, the Nuggets have suffered 8 losses this season by double digits, and all but one were on the road. But 5 of those losses were against top 8 conference teams. So, as you can see, the Nuggets, they're going through a little bit of a rough stretch. So it seems, I mean, their coach does a lot to credit the Clippers, which, I mean, I think that's a better thing to do rather than calling your players soft, because, as I mentioned, I mean, they're NBA players. They're all gonna be working their tails off. But I do agree with him with the approach to the game. You have to approach everything. Well, not necessarily everything, but you can't act like everything's going to be the same. For certain opponents, you have to come with a certain level of intensity and seriousness. I wanted to say severity, but seriousness seems like the better word. But a team like the Clippers, where they're probably going to be the top seed in the Western Conference, I mean, let me just fact check that real quick. But a team like the Clippers, with Kawhi, PG, they're gonna come out and try to put together the best game. They put together the best game. Oh God, I can't speak. It's Saturday. We all know Saturdays are for the boys. But you gotta expect it from the Clippers. They're gonna put their best game together. They're gonna put their best team forward, and they're gonna try to win every game possible by as much of a deficit or by as much of a point advantage, if you will, as they can. I mean, that's the goal of basketball. I mean, put up more points than your opponents. Put the little round ball into the other hoop more than the other team. I mean, that's the goal of the game in basic 5-year-old terms. So now that we got that out of the way, it looks like, I mean, Denver and LA are tied right now, 2-3. They both have a 40-19 record, but they're both 6 games back from the Lakers. So that's going to be an interesting race. Mike Malone, I think, is going to light a fire under those Nuggets. Who knows? He might lose some of them throughout the way. So it's going to be a fun one to watch. I mean, this is probably my sign that I should watch more basketball, because this looks like it's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, I mean, the Nuggets have a good team. They have Nikola Jokic. From what I understand, he's a really good player. But I mean, that Clippers team too, they're something else ever since they got Kawhi. It's going to be fun to watch. Moving on, just some smaller stories. CBS is retaining Tony Romo at $17 million annually. Good move for CBS. I love how Tony Romo always calls out the play before it happens. And for Sunday, again, can't speak. But I always love how Tony Romo approaches being a reporter, so that's a good move by CBS. I think that would have definitely hurt them in the ratings category if they let him walk. Again, moving on, Zion. Okay. Zion sharing a scoring feat with Michael Jordan, a rookie scoring feat. So, just let me pull this up for you guys real quick. Sorry for not being prepared, but Williamson became the first player since Michael Jordan to have 4 consecutive games of at least 25 points while shooting at least 57% from the field as a rookie. So, right away, I mean, I know I've been kind of hounding on my lack of knowledge in the basketball realm, but I do know that's a good game, especially for a rookie. I mean, 57%, almost shooting 60%. I mean, from the field, you expect that from NBA players, but I mean, that's an amazing feat. And congratulations to Zion. Good job for Zion. I mean, coming through with all that. I mean, you kind of expected it coming from Zion Williamson. He was so highly touted coming out of college. I mean, the guy is a powerful athlete. And the big thing with me and Zion, like, I really hope he does well, but he's got to find his sustainability. I mean, if he can keep playing, you know, at the level he's playing at and maintain a healthy career, then kudos to him. But from a scientific standpoint, I mean, it's going to be hard for him to do because he's such a powerful athlete. He moves and cuts like a guard, but he's 260, 270 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So all that weight and muscle moving in one direction, cutting, you know, driving, slashing, all that stuff, it's going to be hard on his joints. But I'm a big fan of Zion Williamson. I really hope he does well. He's the biggest name I would always hear, like, over the summer, over the off season. Just Zion Williamson. So I'm really hoping this kid proves to be, you know, one of the next greats, whether that be the next Michael Jordan or, you know, the first Zion Williamson. Because I know some people hate putting labels on it. So I really hope he does well. Moving on, Joel Embiid out a week. Sorry, my facts are not loading. But Joel Embiid out a week with no structural damage. sprained left shoulder. That's going to be hard to not hard to come back from, I should say. It's no such structural damage, but it's definitely going to throw something off. Not too much, but he's going to have a little discomfort coming back from that. But I think he'll make a full recovery. I mean, he's one of the top players in the NBA, so I mean, these guys play with, little bumps, nicks, and bruises. So, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind there's no doubt in my mind he's going to make a full recovery. So I'll leave that as my I'll leave that off as my NBA kind of storyline. So we'll move on to the NFL, mostly the NFL Combine, which is really popping off right now. I mean, it is Combine weekend, so we're going to hear a lot coming from the Combine. Obviously, a few of the big stories. I mean, Chase Young not participating in the draft Combine. That's a big story. Yesterday or the day before, I don't remember which one it was, but Joe Burrow not throwing. Those are some big stories. Don't know if that's going to hurt their draft stock because they're both really good athletes, really good football players, so I don't think that's going to do much to them. So, yeah. What the hell? So I don't think it's going to really do much to hurt them. I mean, obviously Joe Burrow, Heisman winner, he's not going to it's really not going to matter too much if he, throws at the draft combine or anything like that. So he's still going to go, I mean, depending on team needs and all that fun stuff, he's still going to go top 5, I foresee, maybe top pick. It all comes down to, what the Bengals want, what those top 5 in the draft want. So, a few more things coming from the draft. Just let me try to go through this real quickly. Jonathan Taylor, this podcast being located in Wisconsin, we're going to talk a lot about him running a 4.41 at the Combine. That's going to be good for him. Don't know how he performed otherwise. I'll have to look that up, but a 4.41, I mean, I initially thought that was pretty slow. I mean, but that's also considering, Chris Johnson, who really turned on the burner, set that first record as a running back. And then, obviously John Ross. However, John Ross is a wide receiver, so, I mean, I kind of expected it from him. But I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be a second or third round pick. It was great watching him as a fan of the Wisconsin Badgers. I mean, he's obviously going to be missed. But, yeah. Another guy, a big surprise coming out of the Combine, Henry Ruggs III, running the Combine best 4.27 in the 40-yard dash. Now, a 4.22, I mean, people don't understand how fast that is. Even a 4.27, that's not that much slower. That's maybe a hairline slower than John Ross, but people don't understand how fast that really is, and I can't really visualize it for you guys. But he's definitely going to make a name for himself depending on where he goes. Also with like speed like that, you're going to set yourself up to be a good returner. Especially if you have the agility part on it. A few more. Oh, God. A few more guys. I mean, Jordan Love, I saw a little bit of his performance. He looked really smooth, really good in the Combine. I feel like he's going to be one of those QBs that kind of like a Dak Prescott who might just come out of nowhere and surprise a front office and have a good rookie season or second year season, depending on where he goes. But I feel like that's going to be a lot to watch from Jordan Love. Obviously, you got Jake Fromm, Justin Herbert in there too. Those top quarterbacks along there with Joe Burrow. We just got to see what a team wants and what a team needs and where these guys go and who and how highly touted these GMs feel like these prospects are. So honestly, in my opinion, this is going to be a fun class to watch in the years to come. Just depending on where they go. Obviously it depends on their development and what system they're in, because I feel like systems have a lot to do with it. Quarterbacks, coaches, who they're learning from, stuff like that. That has a lot to do with everything. So that's my take on the NFL Draft Combine. So I haven't gotten to day 3 yet because I believe that is today or tomorrow. Today being Saturday, so this will probably be released on Sunday. But today is Saturday, so just be on the lookout if any of you guys are interested in prospects for the NFL. Just be on the lookout for those guys at the NFL Draft Combine. Hopefully these guys are all successful in their future endeavors. I mean, I know it's the NFL, but I love to see guys, I love to see people succeed. So, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch these guys grow, especially if some of them become stars at the NFL level. So I'll wrap that up being my NFL section. Moving on to baseball, that's basically just the Astros and their banging of the trash cans turning into the Blue Man Group. But I feel like I should put a take on this, especially with baseball being my main sport. I mean, everybody's entitled to an opinion. However, it might not be the best. But the Astros are already being humiliated. And, it's heartbreaking as a baseball fan to see the lengths these guys took to win a championship outside of, getting better skill-wise. I'm not going to say that that sign stealing hasn't been a thing, because going up in the ranks, even at the Division III level, which I'm currently at, I mean, there's sign stealing all over the place, just not to the extent where people are using cameras and banging on a trash can like, they're drummers without drums. But I just feel like it's a disappointment, and I mean, I feel like the apologies that Astros players have given out haven't been as sincere as they probably could be. So I feel like one of the things for the Astros to do, for them to win the crowd back, if that's even possible at this point, this is coming from, a guy who used to support the Astros. Like, I supported their 2017 campaign. Never really noticed anything myself, but that was just probably me being biased. I feel ashamed to say that I cheered for cheaters, but I mean, I can't go back now. And I mean, they put an exciting team on the diamond in those years. So I mean, you can't really be upset too much. Well, I mean, I guess you can be upset a lot, but still, I mean, I stand by my claim. Like, I supported them. That's my deal. But already been hit multiple times. I saw a couple days ago Bregman getting hit. George Springer being booed, which, in my opinion, George Springer is one of the most likable players in the MLB. So it just to see that is heartbreaking. But these guys getting hit, I mean, I understand it, especially as a pitcher myself. I would hate it if a guy knew what was coming for me every time without looking back at the catcher's signs, and I just couldn't do anything about it. I mean, it puts you in a state where you feel helpless and hopeless. So I understand the disgust from pitchers and the MLB community. Also, I mean, part of the outcry, the public outcry, has to do with Rob Manfred not really doing his job. I feel like Rob Manfred's kind of copping out in a way and just kind of trying to sweep this under the rug, but it's a good thing that the MLB community really loves baseball. And I think that's visible in everybody who is saying these guys should be suspended, they should, be punished, which, Rob Manfred didn't do. He gave him a slap on the wrist, basically. I think the Astros owner took more initiative firing both Jeff Luhnow and A.J. Hinch than anybody else, as that was the most punishment that's been given out. And I feel like if no punishment is handed down to these players, they will continue to get hit. They will continue to get thrown at. They will continue to get booed even at their home stadium. Because I think even Astros fans, especially if they're baseball fans, aren't going to appreciate what they did to the game. Now, that isn't to say I support, vacating the title and all that stuff, because you can't do that. You physically can't vacate the title because, it's done, it's over with. So there's nothing you can really do in that sense. You can't just give the title to the Dodgers, because that's basically, in my eyes, that's a participation trophy. Here you go. Here's your trophy for, not winning, basically. Because at the end of the day, they still didn't win. Now, that's hard to say because the Dodgers had really good teams those years, and they had some really good players. Obviously, Cody Bellinger, Justin Turner, Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler coming out of left field, being a top prospect and just firing the ball in there, being a good pitcher. Yu Darvish, all those guys, they all worked their tails off to, get to that point. So, that is hard for me to say, but I truly believe you cannot vacate the title. So that's my take on the whole Astros deal. If you guys have any opinions, this is going to be released on YouTube. Leave your comments, especially, if you feel like this is dear to your heart and you believe something, like you believe the Astros weren't in the wrong, or they were in the wrong, or this and that, then leave your opinions. We love to hear them here at the Sportz Hive. We're currently growing our network, so if you guys could share it, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, that's all appreciated. But moving on from the MLB, I think that's where I'm going to cut it off for the MLB, because realistically, nothing else has been talked about other than the Astros scandal. So, that's been the talk of the offseason. So we'll go into the upcoming schedule for the sports. So starting off with basketball, tomorrow, Sunday, March 1st, we got Milwaukee at Charlotte at 12 p.m. We got Dallas at Minnesota at 2:30, Philadelphia at Clippers at 2:30. You can catch that on ABC. We got Toronto at Denver at 5. We have Detroit at Sacramento at 5. We have Los Angeles at New Orleans. So the well-looked-for Zion versus LeBron match. I think that's going to be a good one to watch. That will be on at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN. So make sure you guys are catching that game. I think that's going to be a good one to watch. Washington at Golden State at 7:30. Monday, March 2nd, we got Utah at Cleveland at 6 p.m. All these times are in Central Standard Time, just so you guys know. I probably should have prefaced by saying that. However, continuing, we have Houston at New York at 6, Portland at Orlando at 6, Memphis at Atlanta at 6:30, Milwaukee at Miami at 6:30. That one's going to be on NBA TV. Dallas at Chicago at 7 p.m., and then we have Indiana and San Antonio at 7:30 p.m. to round out the night on Monday. Tuesday, we have San Antonio at Charlotte at 6, Brooklyn at Boston at 6:30. You can catch that game on TNT. Minnesota at New Orleans at 7. The Clippers at OKC at 7. Golden State at Denver. You can catch that game at 8. Toronto at Phoenix at 8. And then we have the 76ers at the Lakers at 9. You can catch that game on TNT as well. And then we also have the Wizards at Sacramento at 9 to round out the night on Tuesday. Then we have on Wednesday, March 4th, we have Boston at Cleveland at 6, OKC at Detroit at 6, Indiana at Milwaukee at 6. You can catch that game on ESPN. Orlando at Miami at 6:30, Memphis at Brooklyn at 6:30, Utah at New York at 6:30, and then we have Chicago at Minnesota at 7. Then we have New Orleans against Dallas. I think that's going to be another fun one. Zion against Luka Doncic at 8:30 p.m. You can catch that game at ESPN as well. Washington at Portland at 9 p.m. to round out the night on Wednesday. Thursday, we're a little thin on the NBA games. We only have 4. We have Denver at Charlotte at 6. The Clippers at the Rockets at 7. That game's going to be on TNT. The 76ers against the Kings. That's going to be a 9 p.m. game. And then we have Toronto at Golden State at 9:30. Another game at TNT. And to round out the week, we have Atlanta at Washington at 6, San Antonio at Brooklyn at 6:30, Oklahoma City at New York at 6:30, and then we have Utah at Boston, Indiana at Chicago, Orlando at Minnesota, and then Miami at New Orleans at 7. You can catch that Miami at New Orleans game on ESPN. Memphis at Dallas at 7:30, and Portland at Phoenix at 8. And then to round out the night on Friday, you have Milwaukee against Los Angeles. Another fun matchup, Giannis against LeBron. That's going to be that could be a finals preview. Who knows? Let's see. I think that's going to be a really great one to watch. Not tickets. You can catch that one on ESPN. All right, moving on to college basketball scoreboard and schedule. I'll just highlight some of the marquee matchups for the NCAA just to give you guys some insight and foresight to what you can watch. Okay, if it would let me scroll. Come on. All right. Lots and lots of games, so I think if you're a college basketball fan, obviously you have your choices. I mean, there's ESPN Plus, ESPN3. I mean, there's Pac-12 Network, all these different networks. So, I mean, if you can watch your game in your area on ESPN, ABC, wherever it may be, CBS, find the channel, find your team, and root them on. Because these are a lot of games. College basketball, I probably should have thought that one out better, but the schedule looking out going into March Madness, I think it's going to be fun to watch college basketball. So if you're a fan of basketball in general, give the NCAA a try. Like I said, March Madness is right around the corner, so I think fans of any sport, especially basketball, are going to enjoy it. With all that being said, that's going to be where we leave off today. Obviously, if there's anything I missed, the guys will probably cover it throughout the week. You can catch any of those shows throughout the week. We will be releasing them. And then I will be back here next weekend. If you enjoy this show, make sure you leave a comment. If you aren't already, subscribe to the podcast. We really need this support. We really appreciate it. Everything matters to us. The fan base matters to us. We really enjoy doing this, so we're happy to have you guys listening. With all that being said, I'm going to round it out tonight. My name is Coby Lynch, and hope you enjoyed this podcast. Until next time, guys, peace out.